Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is April 3rd, and today we're going to take a look, of course, at this jet stream we've been talking about for the last few days as the system starts to develop over the Gulf of Alaska here. And you can see the cold air feeding this system that originated over Siberia and Asia, and that's moving off over the North Pacific here. And this jet stream extends all the way back towards Vietnam. This is going to pack some winds over 220 miles per hour at 34,000 feet, over 160 miles per hour at 18,000 feet. That's just above the level of Mount Rainier there. So a very impressive jet stream, especially for this time of year. We've got winter storm warnings, winter storm watches, high wind watches, wind advisories. We've got high surf advisories. We've got all kinds of stuff going on here. So we're going to dive into that. We'll take a brief look around the rest of the country, but most of the action is right here in the Pacific Northwest. Taking a look at this jet stream, it extends all the way back towards Vietnam. I showed that in one of my Twitter posts yesterday. It's pretty unusual to get such a subtropical tap all the way across the Pacific Ocean there. So it is an atmospheric river. It's on its way here, and it's going to bring some pretty dynamic weather across the region. Checking things out, you can see all the high wind watches going on, some high wind warnings there for southern Oregon. And you can see the winter storm warnings to the Cascades, winter weather advisories for the southern Oregon Cascades, wind advisory for the Puget Sound and the Willamette Valley. There's high wind watches also up for Bellingham, San Juans, and North Washington coast. And the surf advisory extends all the way down the Oregon coast, all the Washington coast for some big waves rolling in through tomorrow. So go ahead and taking a closer look here. You can see that wind advisory here and that high surf advisory. Some pretty big waves, especially near tomorrow afternoon as we go through Monday. Some really big waves rolling through the area there. And there's that beach hazard statement, just kind of warning people, to stay off the headlands and whatnot. These sneaker waves sometimes can really run up much farther than the normal wave height during that time period, and you can be swept out to sea. It happens every year. Don't be that person. So I like to point things out in the area forecast discussion once in a while here, and they've got some exclamation points on just how powerful this jet stream is. You can see 160 plus knots at 300 millibars, 120 at 500. And it's actually, for a period, it's going to be closer to 140 at 500 millibars and over 190 knots at 300 millibars, which equals 220 plus miles per hour at 34,000 feet. Checking out the Willamette Valley here, you can see the wind advisory for them. They've got high wind watches for eastern slopes of the Cascades, and much eastern Washington, Oregon is under high wind watch as well, which of course can include some blowing dust, lower visibility. Any semis are driving around tomorrow have that risk for tipping over high profile vehicles. So you got to really watch out if you're going to be driving around with a high profile vehicle in any portion of eastern Washington or Oregon tomorrow, Monday. This is a Pendleton here, checking, kind of highlighting the big snowfalls in the Cascades. We'll look at that in a little more detail as well. And now looking down towards southern Oregon too, you can see the snowfall amounts go all the way down towards the California border there. And the surf advisory extends all the way down to northern California, as you see in the high wind warnings for east slopes of the Oregon Cascades here. Some gusts to 65 miles per hour are possible. And now they're talking about this again. Here's the strong winds for eastern Washington, gusts to 60 miles per hour possible. You can see that includes I-90, especially once you move past the gorge there. You can see the winds really pick up. But the good thing is they kind of parallel I-90 for the most part. So there's not a huge crosswind across I-90. There is some exceptions, especially around the gorge there as you start to travel north-south right along the river. Or that's a danger area there. You really got to watch out driving a semi through those areas. And why would you be out on a lake tomorrow? I don't know, but they apparently have this information here on this National Weather Service Spokane. If you do happen to be out on the lake, watch out, wear your life jacket. So this is for tomorrow. This general thunderstorm area here for western Washington, portions of northern Oregon, and out to Spokane, Missoula. And there is a slight risk down there for Texas. You can see it does include Dallas, moves on through Louisiana. There is a wind and hail threat with that too. So taking a look back at the Pacific Northwest here, precipitation timing, you can see some rain off and on during the day today, not very heavy, but the rain starts to pick up this evening and tonight. And you can see it encompasses the whole area as we go through Monday morning here, bringing snowfall through the Cascades, rain to the lowlands. And then you'll see that cold air arrive behind the frontal system there, and you can see these really strong showers starting Monday morning rolling through the area. It can be well sheared, some pretty robust updrafts in there, probably some small hail, gusty winds. And of course, that lightning threat, so heads up for that. And that's going to start to taper off as we get into Monday evening. And then Tuesday morning, you can see some residual showers around the area, but mainly tapering off with potential Puget Sound convergence zones sliding down there, but nothing too intense. And this is the WRAP model here. I wanted to show this, the low-level instability that will be moving in Monday morning. You can see some of this 0 to 3 kilometer cape is what we call it, just a measure of the instability of the low-level atmosphere there. And there's going to be some pretty robust updrafts with this storm. Could even get some weekly rotating storms that will help produce hail and maybe even a brief funnel cloud or a tornado, but not a widespread threat by any means, so nothing you need to be worried about. And you can see the profile here showing that unstable atmosphere extends to about maybe 16,000 feet there, and a pretty strongly sheared environment there, which could give a funnel cloud out there. I wouldn't be surprised to hear a report of that tomorrow. And you can even see a weak tornado sounding showing up here in some of these high resolution models. Now looking here at the European model, this is now, and we're going into Monday morning, you'll see this lightning threat materialize across much of western Washington, northeast Washington, Idaho panhandle here. So heads up, eyes in the sky tomorrow. Watch for those dark clouds rolling by. And now checking that jet stream. This is at 30,000 feet here. Look at this, 194 knots, 220 plus miles per hour as this thing races across the North Pacific here into the Pacific Northwest. Very impressive for any time of year. And at 18,000 feet, we're talking about 165 miles per hour plus through the core of this jet stream. That's just above Mount Rainier as this rolls through the area. That's what's giving rise to this powerful system that's going to blast the Pacific Northwest here. Now here's the storm that was going on yesterday. Let me update this to the most recent run. You can see this is the one filling and moving into southern southeast Alaska there in the southern coast. And you'll see our storm system. Notice it bottoms out there about 975, and it does start to fill in a bit as it moves towards the British Columbia coastline. That's saving the region really from a really powerful blast. It's going to be windy enough around the area, but had that thing been a few hundred miles further east at 974 as it was bottoming out, that would have brought a really powerful windstorm across the region. But it's going to be strong enough as it is. Now here's taking a look at the 10 meter gusts. So basically surface, you'll see the system approach here with the really powerful winds. You'll notice they stay just offshore though, but it does get Vancouver Island pretty windy. And you can see these powerful winds still go across the region. Upper 50s for Spokane, up towards 50 miles per hour for some portions of the Puget Sound as possible, and just over 50 miles per hour for much of the coast. Eastern Oregon, it's going to get really powerful winds. That's why they have the high wind warnings down for southern portions of Oregon as well. You can see the higher terrain out in Idaho and Montana, especially the higher terrain through the Cascades. It's going to be very windy. So heads up if you're in the backcountry for Monday. This is a serious storm in some of the higher terrain for eastern Washington as well. Here's the NAM 3KM high resolution depiction of the same surface winds here. You can see these powerful winds hit the coastline here, starting very early tomorrow morning, late tonight as that rolls through. And you can see the gusty winds move through the Puget Sound, calling for 45 miles per hour on the NAM 3KM. And you'll see these winds move through eastern Washington and Oregon here. And you can see the really powerful winds just remain off coast, saving us from just a gigantic blast on Vancouver Island. And it would have been much stronger on the Washington coast as well. But it's still a powerful enough storm. And you can see for the higher terrain like Montana and Idaho, just some really powerful winds rolling through here. This is the HER, same depiction here, surface winds. You can see it come to blast. Starts late Sunday night, a little bit earlier on the HER there, almost about midnight. It's going to be really rocking and rolling there on the Washington coast, up towards 60 miles per hour possible. And they do have a high wind watch for some areas. You can see some of these big gusts up towards the San Juans and Bellingham here too Monday morning. And you can see the HER has about 49 miles per hour for Seattle. That would be a pretty impressive wind gust there. And some of these stronger winds up on Vancouver Island with the main bent back occlusion of this storm as it approaches. And you see this powerful winds through much of the area. So very dynamic storm. You can see how these high winds extend all the way inland towards Wyoming and Montana, eastern portions of Montana even. Now here's what's steering this entire storm, this lobe of cold air that's kind of moving around the polar vortex here, or the polar lobe, let's call it. I don't like to call it the polar vortex as much. The polar vortex is a very dynamic thing. It exists at multiple levels. And so a lobe of polar air, you can see it race across the Pacific Ocean here, the Gulf of Alaska, and just blast our region with very cold air aloft. That's what's spawning this storm. And we've been watching this for several days now. This was at one time over Siberia as very cold air such as this. And that's what's racing across. And the gradient is caused by such cold air versus the subtropical air to the south. And that's what causes that jet stream to extend all the way back through the West Pacific and towards North America there. And you can see that cyclogenesis there as it develops over the Gulf of Alaska and starts to fill as it's making landfall, saving us a major windstorm. Now let's look at snowfall totals across the region here. You can see the snow just pile up through the Cascades, the British Columbia, Coastal Range, Vancouver Island, the Olympics getting a really good shot. Even the Oregon Cascade is going to get some good snowfall out of this. So this is beneficial for any drought concerns. And you can see the Rockies of Montana and Idaho get a good shot too, as well as interior sections, higher terrain of British Columbia here. But look at some of these areas. I mean, I'm not sure exactly where this is, but some of these totals are calling for, 4+ feet of snowfall. And some of the volcano areas I know could get 3+ feet through Washington. You're probably looking at some of the higher terrain in Oregon and getting 2+ feet. And so Monday is not a good day to be traveling across the Cascades. It's going to be very treacherous conditions, gusty winds, and big snowfall amounts. Now looking at the avalanche danger across the region, look at it right now, mainly low, moderate. There is a considerable for the North Cascades there. But as we go on into the outlook here and look for Monday, this is for Snoqualmie Pass. There's going to be high avalanche danger for Snoqualmie Pass. Above tree line and even near the tree line there, it's going to be high, even considerable below the tree line. So heads up, if you're thinking about going backcountry on Monday or Tuesday, you might want to reconsider that. High avalanche danger. This exists for the eastern slopes of the Cascades as well. You're not out of the woods over there. Even below the tree line, considerable avalanche danger going on in through Monday. Now looking at SeaTac, looks like the European has kind of settled on mid-40s, maybe 46, 47 miles per hour. It looks like with an outside chance at a 50-mile-per-hour gust, but probably not going to happen. Mid-40s could cause some nuisance power outages. You'll notice the winds blustery tomorrow, mostly along the Puget Sound. That's where you're going to get the higher winds through the area. This is for Spokane, settled on, mid-50 gusts. Pretty substantial windstorm over there. It could get some blowing dust through eastern Washington that could reduce visibility without warning down to 0 at times with this blowing dust. There's, people are plowing and just now planting crops. There could be a lot of loose soil. So heads up for that if you're eastern Oregon, eastern Washington. Blowing dust can reduce visibility very quickly. And we saw what happened in Pennsylvania with that snow squall. Blowing dust can do the same thing, across some of those highways in eastern Washington and Oregon. And this is for Pendleton here. Gusts up into the 50s probable. Burns, Oregon, you can see. But generally the winner out of this event, southern Oregon. Look at this, the higher terrain of Burns, Oregon. Your gusts potentially up towards 60 miles per hour. The high wind warning was for gusts up to 65. Astoria, mainly in the 40s here. It looks like you're going to be gusting mid-upper 40s. It gets a little bit more for the Washington coastline. You see Hoquiam here, gusts probably into the low 50s. Bellingham, a nice little windstorm out of this, upper 40s, maybe around 50 miles per hour. Quileute, similar. And Stampede Pass. Look at Stampede Pass. You're going to be gusting up towards the mid-50s. And look at the snowfall during the same time. I mean, that's just plain out blizzard conditions. So hopefully you don't have to be back there. I know there's some Forest Service people that have to be working out in this stuff, but heads up if you're going to the backcountry, extreme snowfall amounts, extreme winds going through the Cascades. And this kind of highlights this cold air moving in over the region Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But look at this Thursday. We might get a really warm day on Thursday as ridging builds in and kind of a thermal trough extends up the west coast. And we might get a really nice day Thursday. And for me, even Wednesday and Friday, if it comes in at 59, close to 60, this is the warm day too. So we might get some nice days coming up here at the end of the week. So there is hope in the extended. Check out Spokane, might get up towards 70 degrees as we go on through Thursday and Friday as that thermal trough will hang on for one more day on through Friday for eastern portions. Brookings, Oregon, you can see some nice weather coming up here too for the end of the week. So just some hope, make it through these few days. This really cold air aloft, powerful storm system moving through is going to give way to this high pressure through the end of the week. But then we're going to cool down again after that. So this is 925 millibars. You can see the cold air just blast into the region with our storm system here. But now I want you to watch here on through Wednesday. Look at this warm air kind of building up out of the south here. Kind of a thermal trough as high pressure moves off onto the east side. And let's back up one run here so I can go a little bit more into the extended. You can see that warm air kind of creep up towards western Washington. Look at that Thursday. Probably going to be a really nice warm day. This is at 2,500 feet and you're getting temperatures well up towards up into the 60s actually. So you might get a 70-degree day towards Seattle, warmer for Portland, all the way up through the Puget Sound, even the Oregon coast. Some of the Washington coast is going to get pretty warm as well. So yeah, I'm going to live stream tomorrow. So hopefully you guys can tune in for that. I'm not sure where I go. I'm kind of leaning towards the coast right now. Look for big waves and some of these powerful showers as they move on shore. Try to catch a funnel cloud, needle in a haystack. Yeah. And I was thinking about maybe mountains. There's going to be good snowfall, gusty winds up there, or blowing dust in eastern Washington. I'm still open to some of that as well. But this thing should start to spin up nicely today. So continue to watch the GOEST 17 satellite for this development. It's going to look like a beautiful storm here in probably 12 hours or so. It'll be right off our doorstep, and it'll be a nice representation here on the, this is the mid-level water vapor loop if anybody wanted to know here as well. So yeah, here comes the storm, and I will live stream tomorrow. I don't know if I'll do a briefing tomorrow, but I'll be talking about the storm system during the live stream tomorrow. So hopefully you guys are having a good day. Enjoy this last few hours before the rain starts moving in overnight tonight, and then the lightning threat tomorrow and the gusty winds during the day tomorrow across the region. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow on the live stream. Hopefully you can tune in.